United States. The way it operated is they have 20 horsepower motor up here. You see the old knob and tube wiring on it, but you ran a main drive belt. The main drive belt came over here to the main drive line. Off the main drive line, you've got what they call jack shafts. There's a smaller shaft like this one up here. Most of the jack shafts have got an idler and a drive pulley. Idler is a free spinning pulley. So for them to operate the machine, what they would do, if I can get it to do today, because I've got to readjust it, but they would take the belt and they pull it over to the drive pulley. And the machine would run. When they get done, they'll push it back over to the idler to let it set and stop the machine. They ran the shop like that all the way up to 2001 when they shut down. Every morning they'd come in and fire the engine up, or fire the motor up. And they would run quite a bit of the shop with it. They had a bell. What the bell was used for was to notify the foreman. The foreman sat up there at his desk. If they would use hand signs, and if they were done with the part, they'd ring the bell to notify the foreman. The foreman would come around from the desk and punch a time clock for a work order showing how long they were on that one machine. The way they were charging everybody was by the hour on the machine, so it was important to get I rebuilt a couple years back, hand press. And, you know, with us having Google and everything now, you can Google anything. Well, I happened to get the name and stuff off the press, and I Googled it, and I wound up with an operator's manual. Now, the machine dates back to, I believe, the press was back in the 1930s. And it said in the book that it was a 20-ton press, unless you put two people on it, and you could get 30 ton out of it. And the first thing I thought of is, oh, she would really love this. But then again, though, it also proved the point of, back then, stuff was made to work and last. Yeah. If you went down to someplace now and you got a 20-ton press, and you tried to press 18 tons, you'd be afraid it would break. Yeah. But back then, it was like a 20-ton press, put two people on it, and you can get 30 tons. Yeah, you can get even more out of it. Just proves that, you know, things were built to last. The slaughter here, this had ran for probably about 30 years, and we were able to get it back up and running. I've lost the belt off of it. A lot of our belting's old. And of course, leather belting and stuff dry rots over years. So slowly but surely we're replacing a lot of the belts. But what this would do is they'd have a cutting blade on it here, and they'd put a round piece of metal, and what it would do is just go down and cut a little bit off, and then it would turn and cut a little bit off. And this was used mainly to make the gear, because they'd just cut the slots in the gear and just keep moving around, and every once in a while they'd have to come back and adjust it. You can tell it was a boring job on the back side. There are dates on it dating back to 1912, 1911, back in that time. And you can tell it's a boring job because a couple of the names in there, you know, the operators would scratch your name on it. Well, one guy that dates back, I think it was 1921, took a center punch and punched his name and the dating. The punches are 3 punches wide, and they're perfectly all the way around into the date and his name. So you know he had to have been pretty bored to be able to, yeah, he had a lot of time on his hands. About 80 to 90% of the machinery you see in here is original Soule machinery. This drill press right here, on the back side of it's got a number 14, which meant it was in the 14th place in the shop. So, you know, they even ran this one up until the time they shut down. For some reason my drill press ain't running, my lathe ain't running. There it goes. This one here was not an original Soule piece, but it's in the same time error that we're getting the shop back to. So we went ahead and belted it up. We still haven't set it solid into the ground yet, but eventually we will. But this last November they were lathing on. Our shop is ran by Brian Warren. When Brian first started out, he went to Meridian Community College to become a machinist. After he became a machinist, this was his first job, and he left there. In 2001, when Soule got ready to shut down, he was offered a job at Meridian Community College as a teacher, teaching machine. Now he's over the entire program, and during our STEAM festival and usually the mini maker fair, he'll bring some of his students in here, and they'll run some of the old machines. There's quite a few times he'll give somebody a piece of metal and tell them to go put it in a lathe and knock 40,000 off, or 100,000 off. And you know, the thing is nowadays everything's computerized. So these kids are learning computer operating and running CNC equipment, and everything's computerized. That basically they just put a piece of metal in there, type in the program, and they go like this and watch 15 different blades come in and cut out the piece. Yeah, so for them to come back and operate some of the old machinery kind of is fun for them too. We'll go up to the office area.